What's up, guys? Matt and I are back to talk about our assessment, new client assessment series and how we go about assessing new clients. And, honestly, for the most part, the first thing I look at when I look at someone's diet is it's usually not that bad. To sum that up, most of the time, I think most people are under eating 99% of the time.
I would agree.
The biggest problems that we both see, however, are people's training. And it's something that for whatever reason has kind of fallen by the wayside, and people don't talk about it as much as they need to. And with all the information that's out, it still blows my mind how many people are not training optimally. They're either, kind of just running around doing random things, a different workout every day. They're trying to do fancy exercises. There's just no type of rhyme or reason or progression in their programs itself. The other thing is, that we like to look at, I know you like to have people send videos, so do I.
For sure. Execution is huge.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that we can talk about with training and that we can observe. And that's it's the biggest game changer, I think, when we're helping people. I feel like if they can start actually training optimally and with enough intensity, because a lot of people, you'll notice they don't, the intensity just isn't there either.
Right.
So
As I said in this initial introduction video about like our assessment process, in that initial email, that's why I always ask people like what their training philosophy is, what their approach to training is. Because again, when somebody comes to me, I always want to be able to do something to further them. And I ultimately feel like the biggest gap within most people is just either lack of understanding. You've never been properly taught due to social media culture. Your viewpoint has been swayed, but I always really try to bring it down to how are you training? How are you executing? Do you know what proper effort looks like? And to me, that's like the biggest variable that I can always bank on confidently that like, okay, if you can really buy into what I'm telling you and what we're going to do with the training, I know with 100% certainty that you're going to make progress. And typically the reason why I know that so well is because I would say 9 times out of 10, when you guys email me, when you guys contact me and I ask you about your training, it is typical Flex magazine layout. And what I mean by that is, 4 sets of 12 on this, 4 sets of 15 on this, 4 sets of 6 to 8 on this. And then when I respond to you guys, my initial thought process is, okay, but what do those sets really look like? How many of those sets are you truly taking to failure? When you say 4 sets of 15, are you counting 3 of those sets as warm-up sets? What is your training really boiling down to? Are you monitoring your training progress? Are you managing your recovery? Are you basically making sure, because I think one of the biggest misconceptions within bodybuilding culture is that people want to try to recover to basically elicit the same amount of work over and over again. But ultimately our goal is to recover to be able to do a greater amount of work over and over again. And that's really how you change your physique over time. If you're going into the gym week after week, month after month, hitting the same weights over and over for the same reps, same execution, you really can't expect your body to change. Like our bodies are so smart to adapting. So you have to continue to provide a stimulus that makes it not be able to adapt at the rate of which you're training at, so that's so crucially important. And that's why within this video of this assessment series that we're doing, I wanted to address the training first, because I honestly feel like 9 times out of 10, this is the biggest gap. And this is where we can really come in and connect the dots in terms of what really matters. How are you executing your reps? That's huge. Execution is huge. And that's why both Matt and I, like one of the biggest parts of my check-in process, and also one of the reasons why my check-ins take a little bit longer, is because I want you guys supplying me with videos every week to make sure that I am confident in what you're doing in the gym. Because if I'm coaching you and I don't know what's going on in the gym, I'm doing you a major disservice. All right. So that's basically assessment point number 1 is how are we addressing your training? What's going on with you in your training? What can we improve within your training? And then also the other 2 variables that are really important to this is the rest variable and the recovery variable, which I think also people, especially within bodybuilding where it's more, they're not really taking into consideration how much rest truly matters.
Yeah, I mean, and just to touch on, I mean, rep execution. I started training when I was 12, so I've been training 23 years, same movements,
Right.
And there's still days, I don't know if you have these days, but there's still days where I'll be doing a certain movement and I'll figure something new out. Still, like, oh, that felt better than how I've ever done it, little tweaks.
Right.
So,
and that comes, what Matt's saying, that comes because he's consistent within his movement patterns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you guys one of the biggest pet peeves I have within bodybuilding is these Instagram posts that say, I saw so-and-so do this exercise the other day, so I threw it into my training today. Why? Why did you do that? If that's not been a part of your system, if that's not been a part of your plan, you're not doing anything to progress other than trying to look cool on Instagram. And ultimately, maybe that's what bodybuilding for some people has turned into, but that's not what bodybuilding is about. Bodybuilding is about driving progress. And in order to drive progress, you need to have consistent variables to be able to monitor what's going on within those variables, so that way when things start to stall, when things start to slow out, you know what's going on. If you're doing a buffet of exercise selection every day, if you're doing a buffet approach of changing this food and that food and doing this and that, you really have no clue when things start to stall which variable to play with. But if you have consistent variables, then the direction is going to be a lot more clear.